All right, welcome everyone. I will just get the slides up on the screen and then we'll get started right away. All right, Boris, can you see the slide up there on the screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, perfect. Let's get started.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about the 10 steps for better ranking. And my name is Boris Vujanovic. I'm an SEO specialist here at Marketing for ECPs. I joined the company back in early fall, but I've been doing SEO for 5-6 years now. So it is something that I have been doing for quite a few years now.
Yeah, and I'm Bryn Lowe. I'm the manager of SEO at Marketing for ECPs. And I've been working here for just about 3 years, and I'm really excited to teach you all a bit about really just how SEO works and how you can apply it to your practice. So we'll start off with some of the basics. So we'll start off with what is SEO. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. So all that really means is improving your website so that it shows up better in search engines like Google. There are obviously a different number of search engines, but we'll use Google throughout this presentation since that's what most people use. Around 92% of people use Google. So we'll kind of use that as a placeholder. And when we look at SEO, it's largely based on website quality. So we're kind of looking for just making sure that your website works well, both for your patients and for search engines. And really, if you only take one thing away from this presentation, it's to always keep your patients in mind. If you keep their needs in mind, then the rankings will follow. All Google is trying to figure out when they do algorithm updates and different changes like that is how people think and how people search. So if you kind of really just keep your patients in mind, then the rankings will follow. So why is SEO important? Well, one of the main reasons clients come to us is to grow their number of new patients. So the average person makes 3 to 4 Google searches per day. So by investing in SEO, you're kind of meeting patients where they already are. They already are in the Google search results. So SEO kind of allows you to find them there. And most patients rely on organic search. If patients, even if they know your practice and they come to you regularly, they're probably still using organic search to maybe check your phone number or check your hours. So it's really important to make sure that you're showing up well in the search results. And SEO is a great marketing tactic because it allows you to own your spot on Google. SEO and paid search ads can work really well together. The nice thing about search ads is that the results are instant. They appear right away. SEO, on the other hand, is a longer term strategy. The results take longer. But on the flip side, you kind of own your spot more. You aren't just renting it with Google every month and kind of paying every month for that spot. So once you get there, the results are longer lasting.
So as Bryn mentioned, we do want to focus on the patient when we're writing the content on our website. And so what that means is you want your pages to stand on their own. So each page should have a very specific function and be full of content that answers that specific query, whatever it's targeted for. So effectively, each service should have its own page. So for example, you could have one page for children's eye exams versus a page just with all your exams listed. That way, it allows you an opportunity to have some additional information basically provided in that page itself, just to answer more questions that the patients might have, provide more information about what it is you actually do for that service. And more importantly, it also is an indicator to Google because Google ranks individual pages and not the website as a whole. So if you have a nicely targeted specific service page that answers a question in depth, then you actually have a better chance of ranking that versus if you just had, one general page that would just kind of list the exams and just with a brief description. Which leads into the second point about this is that the content does matter, and that's what you should focus on. So once again, keep the patient in mind. Think about what kind of questions your patients ask you. That provides a good foundation for how you should build out these pages. Another thing to keep in mind is to avoid duplicate contents. So this is more commonly an issue, for example, if you have multiple locations and you're just copying and pasting the content across pages. The problem is that if Google decides that you're just duplicating content with pretty low effort, then they might just ignore them entirely. And so all this time you've spent trying to optimize these pages just kind of goes to waste, unfortunately. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's beneficial to continuously update your website and add content as you kind of go along. Really easy way to do this is with blog posts. So once a month, you can publish a blog post on, some kind of related topic, whether it's about dry eye symptoms or treatments, or, just questions you might have received that month or whatnot. And what this does is not only does it provide opportunity to potentially drive readers to that page, but it's also an indicator to Google that you're actually investing in the website. So long term, it's a positive indication and will help your long-term ranking strategy.
Yeah, and blogs tie in really well to our next point, which is offering your patients free and shareable resources. So a blog is a great example of that type of resource. So the first reason we would want to do this is it demonstrates to your patients that you are a true expert in your area. Obviously, you're an expert in eye care, but you can take this even further and share resources about dry eye, for example, and really focus in on that specific area for your practice. And when you make it something that's easy for your patients to share and something valuable that your patients want to share, you can really encourage word of mouth marketing. So your patients at that point are kind of doing the marketing for you. So like we mentioned, blogs can be a great example of a shareable resource, but you can really lean into like whatever works well for you. If you have a great personality and on-camera ability, you can do videos. You can do something more in depth like ebooks. Even social media posts can be an example of a free resource. So there are tons of different ways you can kind of find more patients and grow that way.
Another aspect of ranking websites for local business is how Google basically shows you on the maps. So basically, to better increase your ability to rank on the map searches, you want to claim your local business listings. These are what we call citations, and they're basically just directory style websites. Classic example would be the Yellow Pages. More modern examples would be Facebook and Yelp. And basically what this does is it helps with localized searches because each profile that you create is another kind of check mark to Google about the information for your business. So you do want to make sure that when you're creating these profiles that they're staying consistent within the terms of the information. So specifically your business name, address, phone number, and website should be the same across profiles. And what we mean by that is make sure the formatting stays the same. So don't, for example, if you have a suite number, make sure it's in the same spot in the address every single time, because if you start changing the formatting information a little bit, you might actually confuse Google, and then it might actually hurt some of those rankings a little bit. So it's just really important to be consistent when you're creating these.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the most important citations or listings for you to claim is your Google business profile. You might have heard it called Google My Business. They're the same thing. It just has a new name now. So Google Business Profile, Google My Business, same thing. And it's really important because it makes it easier for patients to find you, like Boris was saying, in those local searches, which is really important for you as a local business, as a business where people actually have to physically visit you in person. Google Business Profile is really important for maps searches specifically. So if someone is using Google Maps, your Google Business Profile is actually what shows up there. And so, yeah, that's really essential for kind of those searches like, eye exam near me, emergency eye doctor near me, that kind of thing. So it's really important to make sure everything is up to date there. The other thing you want to do is make sure that your Google Business Profile is verified. Even if you haven't gone in and made a business profile on Google, chances are you have one if you have a website. So to verify it, you'll just search your business. You'll click claim this business on the kind of Google search results profile there. And then Google will send you a postcard in the mail. And that makes sure that you can update your profile as needed. And it also makes sure no one else can claim the profile for you. The next thing we look at for SEO is mobile browsing. So most searches happen on a phone or mobile device. So around 60% of searches happen on mobile. And for some examples, kind of like I was saying before, it's even higher. It can be 70, 80, even 90%. Like if someone is searching, emergency eye doctor near me, they're probably on a phone and they're looking for the closest result. The other reason mobile browsing is really important is Google uses mobile first indexing. So that means when Google is deciding how to rank your website, they're not actually looking at your website on a desktop, they're looking at your website on a phone. So it actually doesn't really matter to Google how good your website is on a desktop because they're not even looking at that. And the last thing we look at for mobile optimization is website speed. Website speed is important always, but it's extra important for mobile browsing. Around 53% of people will actually just leave a website that takes too long to load. So making sure your website is optimized for mobile and loads quickly is really important for SEO.
Yeah, website speed is hugely important for visitors, and even 1 second extra loading time can be enough for someone to just exit out. So hugely important in terms of that, but also leading into our next topic, it matters for the content itself. And reason for this is you want to include diverse content in your website to ensure that you're engaging different kinds of users. So some people do prefer text, some prefer video, some prefer various other kind of media, and you do want your site speed to be good so you can actually load all these different types of content so they can actually be visible. And why this is beneficial to have this kind of content is because, first of all, you do attract different kinds of users, which is beneficial, but also Google does favor websites that do put in the effort to create diverse content because it shows that you're going above and beyond your competitors. So when they're comparing similar websites, they're going to choose a one is higher effort effectively, because at the end of the day, they want their searchers to have the best result. And finally, the big point for including diverse content as well is to ensure accessibility. So these are people who may be visually impaired or hearing impaired. And so it provides an opportunity for them to interact with your business. But also there has been recently a number of lawsuits that have gone ahead against some medical practices where they're not conforming to accessibility laws. So ensuring accessibility is present, also protect yourself legally so you can avoid any potential lawsuits or whatnot that can show up.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so the next thing we really focus on is being keyword savvy. So we want keywords to appear naturally. So we want to avoid keyword stuffing or overusing keywords. And we also want to make sure we're choosing the right keywords. So chances are, even if you don't have keywords used on purpose on your website, you have keywords anyway. So what you don't want to do is then go stuff a bunch of keywords in there, because what can happen there is Google will actually penalize your website. They'll rank your website lower because they know you're kind of trying to manipulate the search results. The next thing we want to do when we're looking at keywords is we want to choose the right keywords. So as a local business, you want to choose keywords that are specific and also localized to your area. So I'll use an example like the keyword glaucoma. The keyword glaucoma is pretty low intent. Like we don't know what someone's goal is when they're just Googling glaucoma by itself. So what we want to do in that situation is choose a keyword that has higher intent. So if we looked at a keyword maybe like glaucoma testing Cincinnati or whatever your city name is, that tells us a lot more clearly that this person is looking for glaucoma testing and they're looking for it from a local business near them. So that keyword has a lot higher intent.
Yeah, and very similarly to keyword selection, you do want to also include some internal links within your website. So what these are is basically just hyperlinks between the pages of your own website. And what this does is it basically helps you connect different pages that might be related with the topic, or maybe there's a solution to whatever the original topic might be, whether it's symptomatic or whatnot. And so this allows the user to gain more information, because let's say they land on a blog about dry eye symptoms because they had, itchy eyes or whatever, and then you can link them to a blog on treatment. So now you're increasing their engagement with you, which is a positive signal for ranking. But it also helps the Google algorithm to crawl the website better, because now you're basically telling them that, hey, these two are actually related. Please check them both out. And so the more of these natural connections you can make for the crawler, the better chance it has to read your site correctly, and then also hopefully increase the rankings as well. If it does decide that these are actually quality topics that are connected semantically. And so finally, our last tip is to enhance your snippets on the SERPs. And so what is a snippet and what is a SERP? A snippet is basically a little section on the search engine results page where Google has directly pulled out content from the website and placed it right on the page, so they don't have to click to go to the website. And this can be anything. This can be text, it can be a video, it can be image. It's really up to Google to decide based on the algorithm kind of what answers a query the best. And why they're so powerful is because it allows you to really dominate the upper section of the search engine results page. So basically ensures that the person scrolling will see your content, and they're not just going to scroll by it. And so not only do they see it directly before they have to click anywhere else, but it also increases the chances they're going to go to your website. And so the more traffic you can drive to that page, not only is it obviously good for your brand, but it's also really good for the domain authority. And it just shows that Google has selected your content to be displayed, that you are the best answer for this query. And it just comes down to, once again, producing content for the patient. So as Brent said, always keep the patient in mind, write content that answers the question well for them. And then that's really the best way to increase your chances of having that featured snippet. And so here's just an image of it. It's a little easier to explain this way. So basically what we did here is we did a Google search, and you can see top of the page, there's an ad, and there's a couple above that. But then right below the ad section, you can see that Google has pulled the text straight from our website for this blog topic and put it directly on the page. And so you can see that with that snippet, as well as our link below it, we're taking up most of the page. And so that's why it's so valuable to have, because there's no way that someone scrolling is not going to see this. And it's just a really powerful way to get exposure. And once again, there is no obvious way to do this. It's just producing the best content that you can based on the keyword query. And then, hopefully Google decides it's the best and actually displays it. But it's definitely very powerful if you can manage to be featured like this.
Yeah, and it's also a sign that you're publishing really high quality content. So if you get a featured snippet, it's a good sign that you're on the right track for sure. All right, we have a couple announcements and then we'll get into the Q&A. So if you signed up for this webinar with your email, you'll get the e-guide in your inbox. So it'll be sent directly to you, so don't worry about that. But if you think this content would be helpful for someone you know or a colleague, you can go to marketingforecps.com/SEO for better ranking, and you can get a copy of the e-guide there. And you can also join us on April 20th for our next webinar, which will be all about Google marketing and Google Ads. So that's a great way to learn a bit more about a different marketing tactic as well. All right, so we'll get into the questions and answers. All right, so we'll start off with some of our first questions. So our first question is, what does website accessibility mean? So website accessibility can mean a lot of different things. Like it can mean any kind of features you put on your website that make it easier for someone with a different ability to use. So for optometrists and eye care professionals, it's really important to have your website be accessible for screen readers. So that way someone who is low vision or visually impaired can use a screen reader to actually read the text out to them. Um, but it can be a lot of different things. Some websites have like different text size options, so you can make the text bigger, and that might help someone with cataracts, let's say, view your website as well. There are lots of different options, though, that you can really kind of customize to your patients. Some websites even have like different font options for people with dyslexia and other processing issues. So there are tons of different ways you can make your website accessible. Let's see, what's our next question? How do you get a featured snippet, and is it a paid ad? Boris, do you want to answer that?
For sure, yeah. So a featured snippet is not a paid ad, and that's additionally what makes it so powerful is you're basically taking up a huge chunk of the page without actually having to pay for it, and would be more of like a PPC kind of strategy. And how you get it, we don't actually know because Google will never actually reveal these metrics because then you can be able to abuse them. But what we've seen is that it really just comes down to writing good content that answers a question. And it comes down to the tone of the content as well. So instead of, for example, answering a question with, let's say like, oh, this might be the, explanation for this, potential issue, where it kind of seems wishy-washy, just be very straightforward and be like, this symptom is a result of this cause. Because Google is looking for an answer that is, direct and to the point and is going to leave the user feeling like their question's been answered. So again, just focus on quality content and make sure that it sounds, authoritative and, like you actually know what you're talking about, which obviously you do because you're the experts here, right? So just ensure that the tone is, a professional tone effectively.
Yeah, definitely. All right, looks like we have one more question. So how do you include keywords in blogs? So there are keywords that we target for blogs, like the actual blog topic itself. And we also want to make sure that we're including keywords within the blog. So choosing the actual blog topic or the keyword to target for the blog overall is probably the most important part. And when we do SEO, we kind of use different software to tell us what blog topics would be best. But if you are kind of just starting out with blog writing, the best way to do it is just think about what kinds of questions your patients ask you all the time. Chances are, if a patient is coming to you and asking you a question, they're also going to Dr. Google and asking Dr. Google about it. So that's a really good way to know the kind of frequently asked questions people are searching online as well. And chances are, if you're answering that question in a really thorough, comprehensive blog, you're including all the other keywords you need to include as well. Awesome. So that's it for the questions. So I just want to move to the next slide here. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. If you have any other questions about SEO or your website, you can always get in touch with us through marketingforecps.com, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions you have. But until then, thank you again for attending, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.